Okay, so again, welcome to Painting for Pleasure, and now I'm going to take the same piece that we just did, which we took probably with all the taping and untaping and trying to mask it and painting it and letting it dry. It took about, well, I think I spent about 2.5 hours on this thing, and this video is probably a couple of hours at least, or that video is a couple of hours at least. But let me do something. I want to show you how you can get this thing done within half an hour. Okay, and I'm going to actually take this thing and sketch it. So let's do it this way. I just did that particular video, and that particular video had our painting exactly like the work that I was doing, exactly like my representation. It had the big house in the middle, the White House, and it had 2 of the units. And my general feeling is that that reference material, I copied it exactly like it was not great from a compositional point of view. So let's just do this. Let's change it up. Let's just take and draw the house in the center. Okay, and we're going to do this. We're going to do this way. I'm going to just do it roughly, just to show you that we can do this real quick. All right, and here's basically our white building that was there, and the roof came down this way here, and came down, and this is the side of the building. So we'll just come over here and do this. Was going back a bit, all right, and then if you remember, I had a building right here. Well, I'm going to move that building out, and I'm going to actually change it because that building is not that important. I want a building there. Let me tell you what, I'm going to sketch this a little bit bigger. So let's do this and come down here a little bit more, and this is just going to be a rough sketch. Come back here. All right, we'll make that a little bit bigger there, make this angle a little bit more realistic. Okay. And now I got a bunch of sketches in here, but I'm doing this just so that you can see that we can do this thing in a relatively short period of time. All right, so we've got this other building, and I've got sort of flowers in here, and I've got all of this land mass that's in here. And I'm going to put this building, I'm going to set it back a little bit. I'm going to bring it back to, so it's not really prevalent. And I'm going to make my little window right there. We'll put a chimney over here. We'll put it in, but we're not going to put it in so that it's a real strong part of the piece. All right, and so we'll just say we got a chimney that's going to go in here, in this area here, and if I bring this back over here, we still have a nice window that's sitting about like this. We still got a nice big window there, and if we come across, we still have a nice window that's underneath here. Okay, we'll come across this way, and I still have my door. All right, somewhere over here, and I've got coming across here. The windows are going to go up, and I've got 3 windows that are going to be right in this area here. They're going to be a little bit shorter than this here, but not too much. And so we'll do something like this. Let's bring this. Actually, what I want to do is scoop this out a little bit more, make it a little bit more exciting. And the other thing is this: I don't want such straight lines. You remember we masked everything. Everything was really tight and straight. Well, these are all shacks, and my feeling is that all of that tight, straight stuff doesn't work. Not for all shacks. And I'm going to move this a little bit too. I'm going to take this building right here, and I'm going to put it in here, and it's going to go, obviously it's going to go off the page, but we'll just put it right in here. So this is just, all I'm doing is roughing it in. We've got our door in here, right? Maybe we'll even put a little bit of, I'm not sure, a little window in there. Okay, so that's that. And then we're going to end up with our trees in here. Okay, sky, so forth and so on. And we're going to put some foliage in the grass, in the foreground. Okay, it's roughly sketched in. So let me tape it, and we'll wet it, and we'll get started. Okay, so this is not going to be a painting so much as to show you how you can achieve a better result, I think, than the way we just worked right now. So all I'm really going to do here is Well, I suppose I ought to get some water. That's the first thing. So we'll just get some water. And what I'm going to do is we're going to wet the area in the sky, because we're going to do that first. So I'm taking my brush. We'll do our 1-inch brush. Come across here. Let's see what, and wet the sky. Now, what I want you to do is basically, don't paint with me, but just watch it, because I'm going to try to just move right along with this, and then what we'll do is, if this thing works out okay, we'll just put it up on the website, and you can, on the YouTube site, and then you can follow it that way. So you can paint. I don't want to tell you not to paint along, but basically what I'm really doing is just trying to set up something so that you can understand why the way we just went through and did it, 2.5 hours of work with all of that masking, doesn't need to be done. You don't need to mask necessarily throughout the whole thing. You don't need to mask this. What you need to do is to understand what happens. Now I'm going to just tape these corners down here so that it won't buckle up. Right, we'll get rid of that. So that's my taping. And what I did is I wet this, right? See, I'm wetting it really thoroughly. And I'm at a slight angle, so I'm not going to get that real, I shouldn't get that real wicking down here as the paint comes in. I just want to make sure that this is pulled down enough so that we can go ahead and work this. So see how it, you know what I'll do is I want to flatten this out. So let's just do this. Let me wet the bottom side of it here a little bit, and we'll just flatten this out. All right, that should do that. Okay, and then we'll get this going. So we'll just put this down here. The idea is simply that if you wet the paper and you flow paint into the area, you can create the same effect. So again, my sky. So we'll go ahead and start with cobalt blue, a little bit of cerulean blue, combination of the two. It's going to be basically on the blue-green side here. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come across here and put that in. Now this is here, real loose, right? Watery. All right, cobalt blue, cerulean blue. Okay, nice, even down here. Sky's going to come around the house. We're going to leave some white. I'm going to put trees in there. So we can just bring this right over here like this. And here's what's interesting. This is a home. These are buildings that are shacks. So there's no need to be worried about being straight all the time, straight lines. You don't need to do that. All right, so we just moved all of this stuff out. And we're going to put trees in here anyway, so I'm just going to let that's going to be my sky. Maybe we'll run it down a little bit more. And I'm going to put a little bit heavier pigment in it. So this is going to be simply more pigment than water. So what does that mean? All right, I'm going to take the water out of my brush. I want the sky a little deeper, a little darker, a little bit more intense. Maybe right up in here. Right? Heavier pigment. That's all. The rest of it I'm going to put in, we're going to end up putting in some trees up in here, so we'll deal with that. So, okay, so this is all going to come down here and come down here, and that's going to actually come into my foreground over here, which I am going to do. I'm going to wet it. And you notice what I did is I just brought some of that blue down, but I'm going to use a little bit of lavender in here. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to put a little bit of lavender down here. And outside of that lavender, what I want to do is add a little bit of warmth to it, so I'm going to get a little bit of Naples yellow. And come back in this area with a little bit of Naples yellow and maybe a little bit of Naples yellow in here, so we're turning it a little bit on the green side. Okay, and water here, just water. All right, so we got something going on over here. Let that dry just a bit. So what am I doing right now? I'm coming into my house. Now, here's the issue. The sun is generally coming from sort of upper right to lower left over here. So the front of these are going to be lighter, and the front of that's going to be lighter, but we're going to set that back, and this is going to be just a bit darker, but just a hair. We're not talking about a lot here. We're just talking about a little bit. So basically what I'm doing is just tinting my water a little bit. See this? See how loose that? It's all water. It's just a very little bit of tint in there, a little bit of it. And I'm going to add a little bit of my opera. See this? Yeah, a little bit of opera. Turn it a little bit on the purplish side. Add a little bit of blue to it. Come back. Okay, so that's super wet, super light. And all I want to do is I want to start here because this is the lighter side. So I'm going to just put a shadow down here and down here. That's it. All right, I'm going to run a shadow under here. This is a thicker shadow because the sun is coming from here, and I'm going to run a shadow under here. All right, I'm not investing any time in it. I'm not trying to follow the lines so much. I'm just putting something in that says, hey, there's a shadow over here, right under the eave, a little bit of shadow. Okay, I'm going to put shadow on that side of the building right here. This is a little bit of shadow on that side of the building. That's going to get darker. Okay. What I want to do now is I want to take a little bit of my red, and I'm going to add a little bit of my orange to it. Okay, so the combination of the two, a little bit of red, a little bit of orange, but again, very, very, very light. I want you to understand that there is something in here. There's going to be a home in there. There's going to be a building in there. But I don't want to pay too much attention to it. All I'm looking to do is to just give you a tonal value in there. Just a hair more. And that's it. That's enough. Okay, same way with this over here. This is dry right now. All I'm doing is I'm doing the same thing. I'm going to come in here, give it a bit of a tonal value. It's going to be a red building, old shack, water. That's all it is, water. And I want to fade out some of this. I want to soften it up is what I just did. Okay. So I'm just fading it out a little bit. This is very light. I want some real dark greens now. So here's the thing. A lot of pigment. I'm going to do a lot of pigment here. Now I'm using basically my cerulean blue. And I'm going to mix my new gamboge with it. Now I want this pigment heavy, so I don't want too much water. No, actually what I want my brush to do is I'm taking it out. I don't want too much in my I want this a damp brush, not a wet brush. And I want to get some want to get some pigment in here. And this may not be enough still. I may have to go back. But here's the thing, all right? I'm going to put some pigment in there. And what I'm going to actually do is, I'm going to go back and get more pigment. I got to get a little bit more fresher pigment. Because this is one of those things where you can't dig it out. My pigment's all dried up. Then we'll add a little bit more pigment in terms of we'll add a little bit of yellow ochre in here. Change up the value a little bit. Okay, now this is, again, we're dealing with a wet area, but see the difference between the pigment? Pigment is pretty strong. Pigment is strong. Tree there. We're going to do a tree right around here. Trees over there. We'll end up doing a little bit more yellow ochre. Heavy yellow ochre in here. All right, changing it up a bit. Maybe some over here. All right, so we've got some green. Tree. Maybe we'll create some lighter trees in the background. Take a little bit of my lavender and change this up a bit. All right, so we'll have some trees that are going to be cutting in here. But you see, we really don't need a lot going on. This is just clusters. All right. These are characteristic shapes that we're dealing with here. Characteristic shapes of foliage. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually cut some. I'm going to go back and cut my tree limbs in here, my tree trunks and tree limbs and so forth. This I'm going to leave alone because we'll probably do all sky right there, and I'll end up probably making some of this even a little bit darker as we go on. So I'm in a situation right now where I want to do something about the roof line here. Because I think what I want to do is I want to make that roof nice and strong. And I want to make it dark to light. So if I want to make it dark to light, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use water. I'm going to do this here. We're going to come in over here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here. I'm holding my brush straight up, and I'm going to come across. I'm not using my wrist. I'm painting with my arm. Do you see what I did? And I have water on my brush, and as I come up, I want to use, again, I'm making it lighter and lighter. Right? Brushes like this, moving my arm across. Brushes like this, moving my arm across. All right? Brushes like this, moving my arm across. Not my wrist. Because if you take and you hold your brush like this, which is straight up and down at the edge of the roof, and you come across, you can control it. You can control where you end this. If you don't do that and you try to do this, your brush at an angle, your brush is too far over. You really can't see the edge of that. So the most important thing here is control, brush control. Like this, come across. See that? Like this, come across. Down, come across. It's the only way that you're going to get that nice stroke, and you're going to make it even. So my roof, we'll leave it alone. Leave this light. Right? I'm going to put a roof in over here too. We'll make that a little bit on the purplish side. So I'm going to add a little bit of my opera and my cerulean blue together. I'm going to change up the color of this roof over here. And again, I'm going to do the same thing here, but this is just a short roof. So I'm going to come here and go across. All right, see this? Now with this here, because I'm going to actually come down here, because all of this stuff here too is going to be in shadow. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to bring this shadow down, this combination of purples that I have right here, and I'm going to bring it across the front here, because this is going to be in shadow here. And we may even move it up a little bit. Okay? So, same way with this. This door is going to be darker on that house. We're going to darken it up even more, but I just wanted to show you what can go. And we're going to bring some shadow down here. Not from the door so much, because the light's hitting this. This is an aesthetic shadow, or a made-up shadow that I'm putting in here, just to give you a variation. Okay, we want to just get some variation in here. So I'm going to do the same thing with my windows. All right. So here's I'm making up my color. My color is going to be real purple. Here, let me just see what. So here it is. I'm coming down. Right now, again, what I did is I moved my arm. I didn't move my wrist. I painted it with my arm. So let's go to a real small brush, and we'll paint in some more of these windows, and we'll get really creative. I want to do the same thing up here, because my shadow's on this side here. So I'm picking up the same color, coming down over here. Right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with the same color, which is my shadow color, into the windows. I want to come across under here with a little bit heavier, darker shadow under here. Okay. I'm going to come down here. Now, again, the sun's coming this way, so there would be a shadow under here. Now, here's the other thing, right? I'm going to do this. Coming down, using my arm. I'm going to do this, coming across. On this one, I want to just soften it a bit here and there. I'm going to come over here with a little bit of my yellow ochre up in this area here, because I think it's going to be warmer up there. And a little bit of let's take a little bit of my new gamboge, a little bit of my burnt sienna, and we'll put it down here. And then what I'm going to do is marry the two together. Okay? All I'm really doing is, and don't worry about all of this stuff is going in wherever it wants, but we'll fix that. I'm going to come in over here now, and I'm going to do my windows. Window. Window. window, space, window, and we have a bottom window here. All right, we have a bottom window. Then we're going to have a space. And what I want to do is I want to brighten that window up a little bit in the inside. So we'll just do it with a little bit of bright yellow. Because maybe there's a light on in there, or there's sun's hitting it or some darn thing. We'll figure something out. And we're just going to sort of lift that, so make that softer. Okay, so what we also have here is a little bit of a window there, and we're going to end up with a shadow down here, and we have a chimney that's here. We got a chimney right here, right? Make that a little bit on the red side. And I'm going to just now cut in my trees. And we'll do the rest of this. So for my trees, I want to whiten out. I want to lighten up some trunk. So let's just do this. I'm going to lift this out. Water, brush stroke, you want brush stroke on my tree trunk, then a limb, a branch, okay, come over here, we're going to come out here with another limb. We'll come up here with a limb. All right, so we got a trunk there, and maybe we got a trunk over here. Wherever you have the darkest area is where you want to put these tree trunks. Right, where you want to lift out. Okay. See, so that way you can see the trunk. All right, so we got a couple of them right there. Not the greatest in the world, they're too straight, but this is just to show you what all we're really trying to do here is to give you an idea as to what you can do without going into all of that careful taping and untaping that we just got through doing. A little bit of water will do wonders to lift this stuff out of here. Right now we can actually come up here a little bit more, make this tree. This is a light branch. Okay, that's it. We got something over here. Oh wow, look at that big red mark there. All right, so we got some of this didn't dry, but no big deal. All right, so all we're really going to do is we're going to come back in here. We're going to make some darker marks. All right, so we're mixing up how do I usually get dark? A little bit of burnt sienna, a little bit of my blue, which is, in this case, I'm going to use my dark blue, so I'm going to use my cobalt blue or my French ultramarine blue, but I'm going to create a nice dark. I want to come in here and I want to create these windows. I want to create this a little bit over here too, nice and light. And I'm going to come in here and probably do a little bit of darker window here. Maybe make this a little bit darker in this area here. A little bit of darkness underneath that one there. We're going to end up with a darker roof. Coming down here, we're going to darken this up. All right. Now, if you notice, I'm leaving some of it on the lighter side. All right, so we're going to come over here and we're going to put a little bit of a dark area under here, here, and here. because that's where the windows separate. I'm going to make a little bit of dark area under this one here. I'm going to make this a little bit dark down here. Maybe make that dark there. And I don't know, we'll make maybe a couple of dark spots but over there. My house is going to be dark in this area here. And because the shadows come, like maybe the house is going to have a darker shadow on that side, that door. Maybe there's a shadow that's going to come down too, like that, coming this way. I'm guessing. I don't know. I don't know what these shadows are. I'm just making. I'm doing this as a. This is a painting. This is not. I'm not copying. All right. So we can darken this up a little bit right here too. Make that a little bit of dark, and we'll probably put that back. Now that may be still a little bit too wet over there. We do have a door here, as I said before. And we're going to end up putting it in the shadow. Put that in shadow there. Maybe we're going to have, let's put some shadows across here too. And we're going to make this a little bit more in shadow. We'll put something there. Change this up a bit. Okay, so that's fine, that's fine. We're probably going to have this coming down here. Maybe we'll put a little shed off the back side of this thing. All right. Again, it doesn't have to be exactly like your subject matter. All right, so this is white, this is light. Now, I'm going to end up going in here. I need to put some blue in there, so I'm going to have to change my water up, so just bear with me for a second. There I am, I'm talking to a camera that's not running. So basically all I'm really doing here is giving you a little bit of a feeling. I'm going to darken this up a little bit over here. And I know you're seeing a dark area. That's off, that's going up the hill. I'm not worried about that right now. I'll take care of that. First thing I want to do though, right now, is come in here and with my thin brush, I'm going to make some very interesting marks over here. We're going to call them tree trunks, okay? And we're going to do positive tree trunks. Now we did negative tree trunks here, so I need to do a couple of positive tree trunks to make this interesting. So we're going to come up here with a dry brush effect, a little bit wetter. I don't want totally dry brush right now. All right. So that's that. Come up over here. We'll make this tree come over here, up, up. All right, we'll come in here. So we'll do something like that, and maybe we'll come up with another small tree in this area here, over here, this way. Okay. And we're going to come up with some branches off of here, and then twigs. All right, so we'll make it a little darker, a little bit darker in here because it's going to need it, a little bit darker down there because we're going to need it. A little bit darker right in here where these come together. Darker. All right, we're changing it up. So some of it's going to be burnt sienna, some of it's going to be even heavier with a little bit of my combination of burnt sienna and French ultramarine blue over here. to give this a little bit more character. All right, got a big nested area right there. Okay, so we got a couple of trees that have bent away. We're going to make this here dark. I'm going to make, come over here and we're going to make, we'll make that dark right there. What we'll do is over here, we got that dark there, come over here. We're going to make some of these things, some of these areas right here on these particular trees, for instance, dark, light. See that one? We're going to lose. We're going to lose some of these because of this dark. So we'll have to pull that out. But no reason why we can't go up here on some of this stuff. Maybe we're going to make this a little bit darker here. Up here. Okay, so what I'm doing over here is I'm making some of them, some of this is going to be really dark. Some of it is not. Some of it's going to be light. Okay. So we got a couple of trees here, a couple of trees there, and we'll probably put another one right here. Yeah, nice dark one. And if you really want, we got 1, 2, 2, 1 over here. Off the light area here. Okay. And we're going to end up with something that's going to be a little bit dark in here. My trees are going to be a bit darker down here. We'll outline that house right there. See what we need, here's the key. We need, this is going to be light. So in back of it, needs to be a little bit darker, right? And we can do that in blue. We can do that in any color. It doesn't make any difference. All I really care about is that it's darker. Okay. Now, let's do this. We got a little shadow coming across here, right? A little shadow, because the sun's coming down that way. But maybe there's a little shadow in this house. Maybe a little shadow this way. And some of that's going to come across. All right, so that's all we need to do there. We want to make this a little bit darker over here. So we're going to end up coming over here and give this a little bit more of a darker side. Okay, and a couple of lines in this roof here. I know it's off. I don't particularly care too much about whether or not it's really off or not. I'm just trying to, again, give you the feeling, the general feeling of what we're trying to do here. So let's get this really dark right here. We'll put a standpipe right there, and this chimney needs to be a little bit more interesting. Okay, on the side there. Just a few marks on the roof, just to indicate shingles. We do have, this should be darker under here and here and here. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw this little shadow down a little bit. Because this is the light side here, so we're going to end up coming in here and making this a little bit darker on this side here. All right, with a little bit of water, we'll just sort of wash this over. Let this, all this is come down. Okay, now, what else would we have here? This house has probably got a foundation down here. It's a little bit darker under here, over here. All right, so our buildings are there. The building looks pretty good. This one doesn't look too bad. It probably could stand out a little bit more with a little bit more red. I don't want it to be noticeable to the point where it takes your eye away, but just enough to give you some strength. Okay, so here. Now we're going to take and wet this whole area. All right. Sopping wet. Let's get some real strong yellow. What is this? This is basically my yellow. It's not my new gamboge. I'm dealing with my cadmium yellow here. Right? So just nice strong yellow to start with. Figures. Looks like that's not gonna stay down there because of the tape, but that's all right. We'll deal with it. All right. So I got that. We're going to add some blue. And look what happens. Add a little bit of blue, you get a little bit of green. Green that up over there. Gray this up over here. Let's do something over there. And a little bit of shadow across here. And let that all play together. Let it run. Leave it alone. Don't touch it. All I did was, we're going to shut the camera off. When it dries, you'll see it. Basically, all this is going to just sort of blend together. But you have characteristic shapes in here. Not perfect, but characteristic shapes that are indicative of architecture in the building. You've got the tree structure. All we needed to do is we need to put some of these in here, and then what we did is we created some trees and branches by doing trunks and limbs. Right, dark side of the building, dark roof over here, light over there. You don't need much more. All I need to really do, if I want to do anything at all to this, is go back and enhance it a bit with some shadow. Maybe I want to go back over here, for instance, and say, okay, let's make this a little bit deeper under here for a shadow. Okay, so it's the underside. But really, there's not much more to do this. I mean, we've got a house. We've got a house that's representational. You can see it. Yeah, I can go. Yes, I can go in and put a lot more detail in here, and create all kinds of different kinds of things. Maybe I'll throw a little bit of a line under here, one up on the top over here, one at the top over there. Okay, maybe there's a sort of something under here. Maybe this is a little bit deeper under there. But the point I'm getting at is this: you don't need to do all of the work we did in our other painting with all of the taping and all of the masking and the lifting and the drying and all of that other stuff to create an interesting painting. You got it right here. And actually, to be honest with you, from my perspective, with a little bit more enhancing, a couple of lines here, once this dries, you got a much more interesting painting in here, because you've got the strength of that White House is showing up. And those other buildings, if you remember, it was so confusing. You had too much going on everywhere. because I did all of the rocks and I did all of the foliage in the front. Heck, if you want to do some foliage, no problem. We can do that. All we have to do is just take a little bit of water and start to lift out a little bit. Lighten this up a little bit. All right, see this? And we can create some grass in here. The same way with this way, we can come down. All right. Water. Just like we did over there, water. Water. Add water to lighten it up. So all we're doing is we're just adding some water in here to lighten it up here and there. Now, again, once dry, I can go back and maybe put in some darks here and there. And those will end up being brush or bushes or just interesting things like that, you know. But yeah, I mean, look, you can come in here and just do water. Let the water do the work for you. We'll add some water down here. Look at it. Wet. Okay, water. And you can always come in here and do just what I'm doing right now. So you can create some light areas in here as well. Okay? Some light areas, some dark areas, or mid-value areas. My point is that you don't need to go through here. You don't need to go through all of the minutia that we went through with the idea of taping and masking in order to create an interesting painting. You've got something that is much more interesting. You can mask this very easily without masking it by just painting around it. Painting around the roof line. That's all you need to do. Okay, so that's just, I'm not going to finish this up. I just wanted to give you an idea as to how we can create something that's very quickly without too much of an effort, by keeping everything nice and loose and free, and it characteristically is going to look more like a shack or a house, or a house. You know, they're going to be fine. I'll go back later on, probably put a couple of dark areas in here and finish that up. But that's all I wanted you to see, is this real quick way in which we can handle something like this. Just nice and free and nice and fresh. Thank you for being with me. I'm your host, Tony Visco, and this is Painting for Pleasure.